I have a confession to make. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm Chip Hanna, and this, of course, is the For You Leaders podcast. But we interrupt our regular schedule of interviewing CEOs and leaders in the business world to interview some even more important leaders, dads. Now, my wife and I are expecting our first kid, a boy, in a couple of months. Kirk is also on vacation now. And when Kirk is with his family, he's really focused on his family.
I am going to be with my family, and I am going to be uniquely focused.
We get asked all the time about work-life balance, which we'll dive into in the next podcast. But I thought this would be a great opportunity to learn more about how to be a great dad by interviewing some of the great dads in my life. I talked to my dad, who's a minister.
I'm Bob Hanna. I'm the father of Chip, or Brian Hanna, who is 32, and our younger son, Tyler, who just turned 27 today.
I also talked to my father-in-law, Jerome, who's on the police force.
My name is Jerome Schauger, and I have two children, Jessica Lynn, who is 30 years old, and Joel Peter, who's 26.
I talked to one of my great friends, Aaron, who actually introduced my wife and I.
My name is Aaron Maris, and I have a 14-month-old son.
And of course, I talked to Kirk.
Hi, my name's Kirk Dando. I have three daughters, Lauren, who is currently 23, McKenna, who is 21, and Sloan, who is 15.
I use this as an opportunity to learn more about being a dad, and hopefully you can learn something too. I truly don't know what I don't know about becoming a dad. Now, you probably heard about the imposter complex when it comes to leadership, but I never thought about it as a dad. Here's what Kirk had to say.
I appreciate you saying that you just have this unspoken or low level, or maybe it's a high level of fear around what does it mean to be a dad. And it's kind of interesting. You know, what you and I do, Chip, is that's actually a very common thing we hear from, CEOs and executives. There's something very real called the Impostors Complex. And I think that can be very true.
Just like CEOs, if you are aware of the imposter complex, you're ahead of the game. The simple act of trying to be a better dad is what the most important thing is. Here's what Aaron had to say about that.
Not to worry too much about doing it right or doing it the best. I think that's a false expectation. Just know you're not always going to do it right, and you're probably not going to do it the best. But the fact that any of us as fathers would wrestle with that, and the fact that we are even considering that in raising a child makes me believe that we're probably doing better than those who aren't even attempting to be fathers. We're probably doing more than most, and probably even better than most, because we at least have that expectation in place to do it. So whether we're doing it right or doing it best is irrelevant to the fact that you're just doing it, that you're present, that you're fully there supporting your child and your significant other, your wife, your spouse, or whomever.
My dad added,
We didn't know enough about being parents. We hadn't even been around kids that much, and I'm sure we were probably a little more uptight when you were born, and you wanted everything to be just right, and a little bit like Tyler is now with his son. There, it's amazing. Make sure you use hand sanitizer and all this kind of stuff. And we never used that, and you both survived.
Okay, I realize that I'm not going to do it right or perfect, but what should I be focusing on? Everyone I talked to narrowed down the most important aspect of being a father is just to love. Kirk said it this way.
If you can only do one thing, you only get to do one thing. That's just love them. Just unconditionally love them. At the end of the day, we can teach them so much, and we can, protect them from this and protect them from that. And all those things are important. But if I could only do one thing, is I would just love them.
If you can simply focus on the big things, everything else is going to fall into place. It's pretty simple. My father-in-law, Jerome, said this.
And the best we can do as parents is kind of feed that interest and stand by them and be proud of them and encourage them in the big ways. And the big ways, I mean the way they treat others, being honest, those big values kinds of pieces that are kind of non-negotiable, should be non-negotiable. And the rest of it is kind of going to fall into place.
Okay, so I've got the big idea that I need to love my kid, focus on the big things. But how is my life going to change? How will the baby change my life the minute it walks into my home?
You almost don't even, like, obviously life changes and everything's changing. And at first you're like, wow, this is awesome. This is incredible. You expect the crying in the middle of the nights and the long days. And you kind of expect all those things. There was a brief period where I almost felt like it hit me. This is not just a season. Like, this kid is going to be with us potentially 18 plus years. Like, this isn't just a season, and it doesn't get any, like, easier per se. It just changes. And even in the 14 months that, our son has been on this planet in our care, there's been different seasons. It's like, okay, first, he wasn't able to move around on his own, so he was entirely dependent. And now it's cool that he's walking, but now, holy crap, he's walking, and we've got to manage that and make sure he's okay and follow him everywhere. He gets fussy if he's still in one place for any period of time. And so it just kind of changes, and you don't really have time to think about it. You just do it. You live it, and you hopefully pause long enough to be grateful for the season that you're in, knowing that another one is right around the corner.
So you guys are 30, right? You're 32, right? You have had the chance of being pretty selfish for the last 10 years or so and doing what you guys want. And that's going to change. I mean, that's the first thing. First advice is, you've got to put the family first. You just have to. It's a family unit. I mean, you're always there for each other. You're there to support each other no matter what's going on, good, bad, or whatever. And I think that starts at day one. So I think in that way, it's going to change. I think it's going to be good. I think you're going to love it. But I think it's a change in perspective, because from now on, you're not the number one consideration or even in the top two.
So how can I get ready for that? Here's how Kirk says you should think about the first couple days back at home with my new son.
Well, I think the most important thing is actually thinking about it ahead of time and having a mindset. Being thoughtful enough to think about even having a podcast where you're talking to other dads and trying to learn and gain perspective. And so as you come into that, I think about the traditions. Think about what it's going to be like when you cross the door and bring your new son home for the first time. Think about the first time that you're going to see them in the crib. Think about capturing those memories and the things that you want to do. But also think about, Jessica, your wife, and how you can help her really make this a journey that she can enjoy. Something that when she reflects on it, it's one of the happiest, best memories. Not just having a son, but the fact of how you treated her during those times, those new days, those new months, the first couple of years. They can be hard. Babies get sick and they can't talk to us, and it's frustrating. They need us 24/7, and just recognize and be highly sensitive to the fact that you are the leader of this family and you have the responsibility. Whether you choose to take it or not is up to you, but you have the responsibility of leading in a way that Jessica and this new son feel incredibly safe. And that starts on the day that you cross the threshold into your home.
Now, even though this first podcast about being a dad was short, it includes some pretty deep things to think about, for me at least, as a first-time dad. I want you to remember this. Being a father is one of the most important leadership jobs there is. I want you to stay tuned to the next episode of the For You Leaders podcast, where we talk about a lot more aspects of being a dad. How do you handle discipline? We even talk about spanking. What about dating? How do you talk to your kids about dating? And what about work-life balance, a thing that we get asked about all the time? All that and a lot more on the next episode of For You Leaders. Do you have a question, comment, or suggestion? Go to foryouleaders.com. Once again, that's foryouleaders.com to let us know what you think and to subscribe. I hope to see you next time.